Sonic Frontiers is one of the most unpolished, directionless, and uninspired Sonic games out there. Heck, just out of games in general. But somehow, despite all of the problems the game has, it is still somehow a really fun and great game. After the disappointment that was Sonic Forces, people had zero faith that Sonic Team could make a good game again. Well, maybe not zero, but very little faith that they could do it again. And after hearing that the team behind Sonic Forces, a game that failed to be linear and good, were moving on to be making an open world game, our hopes were at an all-time low. But somehow, just somehow, the developers managed to pull through and produce a good game. Now, it is no secret that the development of Sonic Frontiers was not a nice story to hear at all, because of course Sonic Team is under the management of Sega, and Sega isn't really the greatest of companies out there. And because of all that, it is honestly a big surprise that Sonic Frontiers even turned out to be a good game in the first place. And with the brand new development information that we have on the game in today's video, it honestly seems like a miracle that this game even turned out as decent as it is. Like, the stuff we're about to read in today's video is no joke, man. Like, it's genuinely so baffling that this game even turned out as good as it was, as I said already. So, yeah, we're going to take a look at it in today's video. So, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's take a look at the information at hand. Onto Sega's new recruitment page, we Sonic Rush. Actually, hang on, just before we carry on with the video. Something tells me that you're not subscribed. How do I know that, you ask? Well, look at this. Are you seeing that right now? Most of the people watching this video right now aren't subscribed. What's going on with that then, eh? Press that subscribe button right the hell now, because, you know, just saying, Sega was telling me that if you don't subscribe right now, they ain't releasing that Unleashed port. Okay, they didn't actually say that, but come on man, you should still subscribe right now. You won't regret it. Trust me. Anyways, I'll stop bothering you now, so on with the video. So recently, Sega published an interview with all the developers of different games, and Sonic Frontiers is actually in there, and yeah, there was a lot of development information about the game, so let's take a look at it, shall we? Please tell us about your enthusiasm when you became a development member of Sonic Frontier. Our top priority was to make Sonic a title that could once again compete on the world stage, and we aimed to raise our quality in order to transform it into a completely new third generation Sonic game. We had experience with a global title with Tokyo 2020 Olympics, the official video game, but there was a sense of anticipation as we took on a new open world title. Takahashi. I have been involved in Sonic titles for many years, so I have experience in game development from a global perspective, but this is my first time releasing on multiple platforms and simultaneously worldwide, and the challenge of creating an open world is a daunting project. I had a hunch. Having said that, we have always tried new things, so I thought we could do it this time too if we all work together. Mitsuishi. I joined the company mid-career and soon joined Sonic Frontier, so I had less experience with Sonic than the people around me, so I started by trying to understand what Sonic was aiming for. In addition, I was a little worried about whether I would be able to complete the project due to the huge challenge of open zone. Still, there are many people who have been involved with Sonic for a long time, so it's an easy environment to work in. And on the bottom part there we see that Sega actually named the open zone thing there for Sonic. And yeah, from these three developers right here, some of which were completely brand new to Sonic, the open zone aspect of Sonic Frontiers was definitely a daunting project. Because obviously, even though open world games do exist nowadays, trying to make an open world but for Sonic is definitely something which has not been done properly before. So Sonic Frontiers really was a gamble because, yeah, it's never been done before, so they didn't really have a set idea of what to do because obviously it's never been done before, so they had to try and take existing ideas and philosophies about Sonic games and apply them to an open world, which obviously, yeah, it wasn't that easy of a task. Please tell us about the member composition and roles of this project. When I first joined the team, I was in charge of course design and level design as a planner, but my areas of responsibility gradually increased and eventually I became a sub-lead planner, in charge of checking the quality of members and almost all the action parts of the game was doing. Why is there full stop there? Okay, retranslation, whatever. The development team had a maximum of 20 planners and a maximum of 120 development members, including designers, programmers, sound, etc. So for a while, there's been a common misconception that Sonic Team only had 60 people working in Sonic Frontiers, but as you can see right here, no, there's actually 120 of them maximum at least anyways, so could be a little less than that, but yeah. It's still double of what we originally thought, so even still, that's still kind of impressive for people who are inexperienced with the open world genre for Sonic, so yeah, I still say that's pretty impressive. But now that we know for certain that 120 people are working in Sonic Frontiers and the Sonic team is also expanding, there should be no excuse for developers being incompetent for the next game now, because they have all the ideas set in stone now, they just need to apply them and improve them again, so yeah, no excuse there really. Takahashi. As a background designer, I was mainly responsible for creating objects for the mystery-solving content of Open Zone. At the same time, I was the sub-leader of a background design team of up to 25 people, organising the organisation and managing schedules. Mitsuishi. The programmers were divided into several teams based on play within the game, and I was a team leader for the puzzle-solving content program on the Open Zone. The number of programmers on the team varied from 4 to 7 depending on the time, but as a leader, I was responsible for liaising with planners and designers, managing the progress of team members, and also implementing story-related and minigames. I was going. Okay, whatever that means. So yeah, clearly there's a big focus on the puzzle aspect of the Open Zone, and we're going to see later on why that was the case, so yeah, we'll keep on reading. How did the development of Open Zone, which is different from conventional action stages, proceed? The biggest challenge was that it was difficult to grasp the overall picture of the Open Zone, and the challenge was how to create play within it. It's an action game, so you won't know if it's fun until you actually try it. I kept in mind how I could play like Sonic, and I kept repeating the work of implementing and checking the ideas I came up with. Takahashi. This project has taken about 5 years in total. For the first year, we worked with a small group of people to finalize the specifications, and during that time, I was working on another project. By the time I came back, the prototype we'd created was still quite satisfactory both in terms of graphics and playability. It wasn't. What? Okay. In the project, we're using an in-house game engine called Hedgehog Engine that specializes in Sonic's gameplay, but development of this is also progressing at the same time. We are working on the creation of Open Zone. We continue to add necessary features one after another. The team is filled with a sense of crisis. We have to create something new. If we fail here, there will be no chance. So essentially, Sonic Frontiers was Sonic's last chance at having big video games again, essentially. And it does make sense because at this point in time, for the context of Sonic Frontiers, we had just come off of Sonic Forces, Sonic Boom, Sonic Lost World, and that lasted about a decade nearly. So from the perspective of Sega, yeah, if Sonic Frontiers bombed and just completely flopped, yeah, I guess that would mean to them that Sonic just doesn't pull big games anymore, so what's the point even putting any effort into that? And anyways, at that point in time too, the Sonic movies were doing really well, so they'd probably just move away from video games for a bit and just go all multimedia like Sonic Prime and stuff like that, and yeah, it'd be basically a very low point in the Sonic franchise essentially. I mean, the video game franchise would have no video games, or very little of them, so yeah, that's not good at all. Mitsuishi. At first, the main focus of the Open Zone play was solving puzzles, but we implemented the specification that the planner had put forth and thought, would it be more fun to do something like this? And then we looked at the reactions. However, I rebuilt it quite a bit. At the prototyping stage, there were cases in which there were no specifications, so programmers created prototypes and proposed them to planners, and in some cases, they were actually adopted and implemented as gimmicks. So at one point in time, all the platforming in the Open Zone was not there. Like, it was just gone. It was mostly just all the puzzles that we have. You know, all the basic stuff that were in the original game where you stand on a switch or do a homing attack or hold the parry for one thing, even though it's a holdable parry, so it doesn't even matter. Yeah, at some point in the game, those were the only things present in the Open Zone. Oh my god, can you even imagine that? That would have been awful. Genuinely awful. Even though all the platforming in the sky looks so darn ugly, it would have been nice to have that there than not have it there, because what would he even done in the Open Zone? I mean, Sonic's physics had no physics, so what would he even do with all the hills I can apparently roll down, because there's nothing there. There's literally nothing there to do. It would have been the most dry and barren wasteland of an area probably ever in a Sonic game. Even worse than Soliana the Jungle in Sonic 06. The towers that are on Chrono, Saria and Aranas might still have been there, but yeah, apart from that, platforming was not even there at all, so I guess that kind of makes sense as to why it's all just floating in the sky in the frontiers that we have right now, because at one point, they were even going to be adding that in. That was all like a last minute thing. And obviously they already made these massive islands already and all the terrain and whatnot, so only thing they could do at that point was just add it all in, so that's why it's on the sky. Probably why the popping is so bad, because they weren't planning on having all that in the first place, so yeah, that's basically all the reason why. The playtesters saved the game because they said that the Open Zone was boring, and then because of that, all the rails and stuff got added, so thank god for that, man. Thank god for that. Ria Island would have been the entire game, with just nothing there. Just completely basically empty. And we have actually seen evidence of this too in that beta footage of the game where we saw Sonic jumping off a hill, I think in like Uranus Island, and there was nothing there. And I'm guessing that is a prototype of the game having absolutely no platform in the open zone. And yeah, even just looking at that looks so empty and dry, so thank God we did not end up with that, thank God. Takahashi. After going through the prototype stage, the open zone island, which began work in earnest, has a surface area more than 3 times that of Kronos Island, the first island Sonic arrives at in this work, and is equipped with many mystery-solving gimmicks. It was something like that. For example, the rotating stone statue at the beginning of the game is one of them. Although it was a new attempt for the Sonic series, it lacked a sense of speed, and we ended up thinking, this isn't a Sonic game. Okay, so they at least acknowledge that a lot of the puzzles in Sonic Frontiers don't feel very Sonic-like at all, so that's good, that means they can work on that for the next game. The essence of Sonic is action, but everyone was too focused on the word mystery solving. A young programmer who had been with the company for 3 years suggested a gimmick called a grind rail generator, and I feel like things started to take off all at once. While having fun moving through the open zone, we also made a major correction in the direction of level design that leads to puzzle solving and battles, and added Sonic-like mechanisms to create the final version of the open zone. It's here. And yeah, that's them confirming that originally the open zone had no platforming and was actually added later on in development, so yeah, there's a confirmation there. Takahashi. At the same time, there were many opinions that the island was boring because it had a large and similar landscape, so we decided to review the background design from the concept and make a major overhaul. Unlike the action stage, we had to make it look natural, even when viewed from 360 degrees. Also, we put a lot of effort into expressing the weather and changes over time. The world of Sonic Frontier is so close to the real world that feels a little strange. While pursuing realism, we had a hard time adding originality that is unique to games, such as locations that never get boring and exciting points. This was Sonic Team's first attempt to create specialized teams, such as the Ruins team, the Rock team, and the Plant team to pursue and create reality. And yeah, it also seems that they think that the realistic art style in Sonic Frontiers just go a bit too far and doesn't feel very Sonic. And that is good, but I don't think the realism should completely just disappear. I think Sonic Unleashed, I know it's a go and everything like that, but still, bias aside, that is the perfect art style for a Sonic game. It's still realistic to an extent, but it has the cartoony elements in there to make it feel still like Sonic and like a video game. So yeah, it's good to see that they actually notice that, and hopefully they don't overcorrect too much and go back to Sonic Lost World or something like that, because yeah, that'd be the worst way we can go. Were there any difficulties in producing a global title, such as the difference in reaction between overseas and Japan? Takahashi. There were many cases where what we wanted to promote in Japan and what we wanted to promote overseas were different. In Japan, the main visual was purposely made to be serious in order to promote a unique worldview of Sonic Frontier, but in North America, there was a desire for a classic visual similar to Sonic's previous ones did. Several times during development, we conducted user playtests in North America, where we asked people close to the users to actually play the game and check their reactions, but there were countless times where we had to rework the game depending on the users' reactions. There were so many. We've done playtesting before, but this is the first time we've taken the approach of making improvements through repeated playtesting. Now this is good news right here, because they were targeting Japan specifically and making sure that what works for Japan, they did that, and whatever works for obviously everywhere else, they did that, and that's probably why the game did so well in Japan this time around, because they actually focused on Japan at one point, and yeah, that's good, very good. And it also seems that they took playtesting a lot more seriously here, which is why the game had to get restarted development a lot of times, because obviously they kept updating the game to meet the users' reactions, and yeah, fair play to them for that. I watched the reaction from overseas playtests in real time, and immediately discussed it with the director to make improvements, Mitsuishi. In overseas playtests, the scores came back quite severely. You can also watch gameplay videos at the same time, so you can see that it probably won't be fun if it goes this way. So, if you improve that part, your playtest score will definitely go up. 6 points becomes 8 points, I use that as motivation. Even when the playtest scores were low, the entire team worked with enthusiasm, thinking, Sonic may have been okay up until now, but let's reach a higher level of fun. Basically, my role is to judge whether the prototypes that have been submitted are playing like Sonic. Sonic is a platform action game, so the first requirement was for it to be a fun game where you can run, jump and move around. When playtest scores were low, we took into account comments and feedback and took measures to perfect the open zone play. When the playtest scores from overseas users finally rose to 8 or 9 points, there was a feeling within the team that we can do this. So yeah, clearly Sonic team have some very high spirits here, which is good. They are very enthusiastic about making Sonic good, so we have passionate people on the development team. That is very good. And thankfully it all worked out, so clearly for the next game their spirit's going to be even higher because they know what to do now. They just gotta replicate it and make it better. Please tell us your impressions after completing the project and what you would like to try in the future. Sonic Frontier goes beyond the traditional Sonic stage clearing format to become a game with even more freedom, allowing you to enjoy action in 360 degrees in an open zone. There was a lot of pressure to deliver quality that will live up to the company's banner, but thanks to everyone's support, we were able to move forward with updates to the main story. This was my first time participating in the development of Sonic, and I ended up being involved in all action aspects as a leader, which allowed me to deepen my understanding of the framework and structure of action games. I would like to use the knowledge gained here to further evolve the play of the reborn third generation of Sonic, and develop games that can be enjoyed by as many people as possible. We had a hard time creating an original worldview, such as the ruins, but for now, we are able to create a new Sonic worldview. For this project, we focused on organising an organisation that would work together to create a unified entity, whereas up until now, we had relied on individual skills. I believe that by having young members develop their individual areas of strength and challenge areas where they are weak, we have been able to raise the level of their skills in the field. The walls around the world are thick, and I don't think we can say we have joined the AAA group yet, so I would like to continue pursuing graphic design that is worthy of being on par with AAA. So yeah, Sonic Team realizes that what they've produced with Sonic Frontiers is not perfect. They can do a whole lot better. Sonic Frontiers is clearly the first draft of the open world formula, and yeah, from the way it's sounding, yeah, they're not going to stick completely with the way Sonic Frontiers turned out. All the flaws and issues with the game are going to get fixed and revised for the next game clearly. And they're going to try to reach the standard of AAA games nowadays, so that's probably the most interesting part about this here, and I'm glad for it, so yeah, well done. Mitsuishi. With Sonic Frontier, we were able to show the potential of the third generation of Sonic. This was my first open world challenge for a Sonic title, and it was also my first experience as a team leader of a certain size, where it was a scene in which the entire team strived to create something that was Sonic-like and made it fun. It was very inspiring to be there. It was also great to be able to experience implementation related to story progression and the overall game. In the future, I would like to greedily spread the word and take on the challenge of developing a game that surpasses this one. And that is pretty much all the information we have in today's video then, so what have we learned from this interview then? Basically, Frontiers is essentially a miracle. A legit miracle. This was Sonic's last chance of having big budget games again, and yeah, he succeeded at bringing back Sonic on top again, so that's good. If Frontiers had failed, all the multimedia like movies, TV shows, merch, comics would have taken over entirely, and games would be probably the least significant part about the entire franchise. So again, thank God that is not the case anymore. And hopefully, Sega take this as a learning experience too, that when time is given to Sonic games and the developers have a bit more freedom, they can create good games. Who would have guessed, man? Honestly, who would have guessed? Anyways, that about does it for today's video then. So yeah, Sonic Frontiers was a miracle. It was a goddamn miracle. And hopefully, the game after Frontiers, the mainline game anyways, will be even better. Let's just hope. But let me know what you guys think of this info in today's video then. Do you think Frontiers is a good game or not? Let me know down below. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, especially the last one. Don't forget to become unleashed. Pressing that join button down below. Remember, it's not necessary. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.